All right. Welcome everyone to our Committee of the Whole meeting. We'll just wait for Councillor Prague here and see if he's able to log in. Councillor Prague, can you hear us? Oops.
He said he can hear. He's using his phone.
Okay. We have Matt Glavin as a speaker first at 3:30. So I'm going to open up the meeting, and if Mr. Pratt here, and then he can address his videos to be able to ask questions after. So I will call the meeting to order. This is Committee of the Whole meeting, so we have no votes and no resolutions. And we have Matt Glavin here to speak with us today to talk about and provide an update to council on the River Springs Development Phase 1. Mr. Glavin, are you able to hear us okay?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
And welcome.
Thank you. Well, I just wanted to thank you, Mayor and Council, for the opportunity to speak today and to provide a bit of an update on the activity on River Springs to date and really what is expected to come. So with that said, we finished servicing of Phase 1 back in the fall of last year, which was comprised of 36 lots. What included in that work was the additional measure that we took to install a second sewer line along River Springs Drive so as to prevent boulevard damage on the existing residents. We really made a concerted effort towards tree preservation and have ensured the enforcement of that message extensively with our builders and with hydro. Hydro installation is expected to be completed in the next couple of weeks. I have to say that this was a really extensive process that required several on-site meetings and redesigns to get hydro to work in and around all the trees that we preserve. Having said that, I think preserving trees is really not an easy feat. At the end of the day, the engineers and even hydro do not like designing around them. It's far easier if they were to say, let's work with a blank canvas. But you know, we're even experiencing in some other jurisdictions the request to remove trees on a final phase of one of our developments because previous efforts to preserve trees have resulted in drainage challenges and root damages to infrastructure. Nonetheless, we committed to preserving trees in this development, and we take pride in fulfilling our commitments. So this also resulted in hydro's budget about 300% over its original estimate. But you know, we feel it's worthwhile in the end for the job that's been done. So to date, our lots are sold out to quality home builders that are members of the Home Builders Association, many of which took part in the trails. There's 7 homes that are currently under construction right now at varying stages. And some of these homes are gearing up to be ready for the fall parade of homes. We've been diligent in our efforts to ensure contractors are not parking on the street. We regularly monitor the street and address any issues, albeit there have not been many, immediately. We have a regular street cleaning program that's in place to ensure the road is kept clean and tidy. That goes out bi-weekly. And we're scheduled to install the speed humps later this week, which was a commitment that we made from Phase 1. I'm really pleased with the work that's been done thus far, and even more pleased with the adherence of the builders and hydro to our standards and restrictions. I expect more homes to be under construction in the coming months. These homes are certainly quite large in scale, and several of them are sized with 3-car garages. There is an application that is coming forward on Thursday to council by one of our builders to convert 3 of the lots into 2 lots as a means to create 2 really large lots. We're excited about this and have been working alongside the builder on this one. This will redesign the redesign of this lot will allow for the preservation of the old growth trees and create two stellar lots that will appeal to a very niche market. In conversation with the builder, I just want to note one thing that was requested, and I was copied on an email that was sent to Red River Planning today. In the planner's report on page 6, it notes the buildable area for a single family dwelling on lot 34 is to be limited to the area outside of the drip line of mature tree zone, as shown on the tree protection plan submitted to and approved by the municipality. Believe the builder has supplied some suggested language to this matter that would be adjusted to what the tree preservation plan shows, which is a 3.5 meter setback from the trees. This is really just adhering to how the plan has been drawn up. With respect to the next phases, we started an extensive consultation process in late January, which included an early engagement workshop for the residents on River Springs. We hired a consultation expert in McGowan Russell Group to facilitate the process. It was an interactive session that invited participants to share their inputs on land uses, design, and infrastructure. This session was instrumental in shaping our draft conceptual plan. We held additional open house sessions in March and shared the feedback we received from the workshop sessions and noted how the input helped shape the conceptual plan. Although there was not 100% consensus on the proposed plan, one of the overwhelming themes that was present to me was the first thing that stated in the open house was thank you for listening, and they were impressed with the overall design, particularly with respect to park space dedication and the limitations to multifamily. Some people were also appreciative of the varying lot sizes and the number of lots proposed that are in the 50 to 60 foot plus range. We even developed a website as part of our consultation process, rsgconsultation.ca, where one can find all our workshop materials, open house materials, including the recorded Zoom meetings, and provide additional feedback where people can submit comments and questions at any time. This has certainly been the most extensive and engaging public consultation process that I've been a part of, and I think McGowan Russell Group did an excellent job facilitating this process. I'm a believer that the heavy lifting up front pays off dividends in the end. People were engaged, participated, and we listened. I'm excited to move forward with the next phases of subdivision that is founded in the consultation process. After making some adjustments after consultation sessions, we submitted for subdivision and rezoning the next phases for our development. I believe this will be coming to council at some point later in June, and look forward to talking to council that time in more detail on the matter. Until then, thank you again for allowing me this opportunity to provide a quick update on River Springs Grove, and I'm happy to entertain any questions at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Glavin. We appreciate you coming to council to talk about phase 1. We can't talk about the application that you had mentioned about a 3 to a 2 lot. There's an open application on that and we can't speak to it, but I'm sure if there's any concerns there, you can share that directly with our planner. And the update on the next phase, we really appreciate that just in terms of updating council on all the public engagement that's taking place, and that will be future applications for that too. So we appreciate the update. I will go around the council table and see if there are any questions for you. Councillor Link, any questions for Mr. Glavin?
No, I don't have any questions, but thank you for the presentation. I really appreciate an update. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Link. Councillor Steady, any questions, comments for Mr. Glavin?
No, just thanks for the update, and I've seen your street sweepers out pretty regularly up and down there, so it's good to see. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Kleiber, any questions, comments for Mr. Glavin?
Thanks, Mr. Glavin, for your presentation. Mayor Christian, I don't know why Mr. Glavin was talking about the subdivision. No, it's not a public hearing. He's now had input into a subdivision application and given us input, which is not afforded to our residents or anyone else. So I find that it's very inappropriate. And also the zoning, mentioned about the phase in the zoning, that's also on first reading on Thursday. Those things can't be talked about in any presentation to us or any type of information should be given. That is directly part of the application. So while I appreciate your presentation, it's not following the proper procedure. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kleiber. Councillor Prague, any questions, comments for Mr. Glavin?
No questions.
Thank
Can
you.
you hear me?
We can, yes. We're having trouble seeing you, but we can hear you.
Well, my internet is down. I'm using my phone.
Okay, no, we can hear you.
Move your phone up, Stan.
Huh?
There we go.
I'll see you.
We can see you. Perfect.
Okay.
Mr. Glavin, no questions from me. Just want to thank you for coming in to update us, particularly about phase one. And we do appreciate all the work and the extra money that your company has spent to preserve additional trees. As you're well aware from part of your phase one all the way through the project, tree preservation has been a real concern for our residents, not just in that area, but throughout West St. Paul. And so to hear about the extra work that you've gone to with Hydro, $300,000 over estimate to preserve boulevard trees, to move the construction to the new side of the street and not dig up infrastructure on the north side of the street and disrupt existing yards, really appreciate that. I also appreciate you letting everybody know about the construction cleanup that's taken place. That was a real concern, and there's really been effort to make sure that that area is clean and tidy while all of this is going on. And really to update people that the development is sold out. And we see the basements that are being poured, and to know that 7 homes are well under construction. It's really, we often get calls from residents wanting updates on developments in our area and how they're moving along and what stage at. So to have you request to come and speak to council to provide us with that information tonight, we really do appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
We will keep moving on with our agenda. We have item 4.4.1, 2021 Seven Oaks School Division scholarships. So everybody's had a chance to look at the administrative report. This is something that we do every year. We provide scholarships to students at the 3 high schools that feed our West St. Paul school from K to 8. And so we've awarded in the past 200, 300, 500, 300. So the resolution coming forward at the next county, $100 for graduating students from West K Collegiate, Maples, as well as Garden City, and that it be a student from West St. Paul. I'll go around the table and see if there's any comments or discussion on this. Councillor Bichetti, any comments, concerns?
No, that's good. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Kleiber, any concerns about the Seven Oaks Scholarship?
I don't have any concerns about it. I would say that I think it's a good thing to do for people from our community to support them with a scholarship and acknowledge their efforts.
Thank you. Councillor Prague, any concerns or questions?
No, that's good. Thank you.
No questions or concerns. Thanks.
Councillor Kleiber, any concerns? Councillor Link, any questions, concerns?
No questions, no concerns. I support giving scholarships.
Thank you. Yep, this is a great thing that we do, and it's great to be able to recognize West St. Paul students doing good work out there. Item 4.6.1 is our RCMP January policing report. And so that report is also attached. Our residents are able to see that. So we want to make sure that our community members are informed. And we sure appreciate our local RCMP detachment providing updates for us. We recently had Sergeant Duncan come in not that long ago, I think our last month's committee of the whole meeting, to update council on the crime statistics. So there's further information here. One point I'd like to highlight is just how many stops they're doing in West St. Paul, and that they are providing providing a strong presence in our, which is something that we like to see. I will go around the table and see if there's any questions, comments. Councillor Kleiber?
I know that we can see the report on our AllNet, but is that report available to the public too on the regular agenda?
I believe so. If it's not yet, it will be once council has looked at it. We always make our crime statistics reports available for the public to see.
Okay, thank you. I think it's very important that people do see that report and just see the kind of things that are being dealt with. I thank the is it Sergeant that put that together. Looks like a good report again, and it gives people an idea of what we're dealing with in our community.
Thank you, Councillor Kleiber. Councillor Prague, any comments about the police report?
No comments. Thanks.
Great. Councillor Link, any comments, concerns regarding the police report?
Well, it's good to see we have no identified habitual offenders in West St. Paul. That's good. I was wondering about the next part of the report. Deals with proactive patrols on high priority areas. And they're saying that they patrol designated locations, identified high priorities of our communities. How are the high priority areas identified?
So the areas here, in scrolling down in the report, it says they've been to these areas where they have GPS markers 1,379 times. So those areas are identified by the RCMP based on areas where there's been calls before. So they make sure that they go through the business park. So in this quarter, you can see that they've been through the business park over 100 times to have a police presence in the business park based on reports dating back from the previous sergeant, right? And when he made reports about issues and disturbances. So they've been in there over 100 times. Other areas that are concerned, of course, Rivercrest Hotel on Main Street. They patrol by there frequently to make sure that there's not impaired driving, that there's not issues there. So they determine kind of hotspots or areas that might be of concern. They take feedback from our council meetings as well when we've raised issue and concern. So you'll see Pipeline Road and Rushman that they've gone by. Our Sonova Center to make sure that they're driving through there past our commercial areas. So they determine those on areas where they want to make sure there's some visibility and where there possibly were issues in the past.
I have a follow-up question then. On page 7, as previously noted, the list of high priority areas is not all inclusive and can be modified as required. So as a counselor, if I have getting a lot of complaints about speeding or so on from certain areas, can I have input there, or do they want more input from residents themselves? Do you know?
I think they're basing it on risk under normal circumstances and challenging with also dealing with citizens on patrol. You're not able to hear me? Okay. Are you able to hear me now? Are you guys able to hear me? And now I'm frozen. There we are. Okay, can you hear me now? Okay, sorry about that. Internet connectivity problems, even at the office. To continue following up on Councillor Link's questions about streets that make it on the list, it's really driven by the information that they have from crime stats, from residents calling in. In a normal year, it would also be from our citizens on patrol if they're identifying problem areas. I don't believe that Sergeant Duncan wants us each to be calling in and identifying areas. We've talked to them about speeding areas and issues of concern that have been raised by council and our residents. And just because there's not a GPS marker on that street, it doesn't mean they're not going down that street. So they're definitely patrolling Grassmere, Northumberland, Willis, Toshak. We've raised those as speeding concerns. They just don't have GPS markers in their cars to actually track how many times they're going down some of our streets.
So just to clarify, Mayor, if a resident is calling me, the advice I should be giving to residents is please call the non-emergency line for RCMP. The RCMP would prefer not to hear from councillors. Is that the message that I'm to give?
I don't think it's that the RCMP don't want to hear from councillors, but if you're calling and asking for additional markers to be added, they're basing it on their crime statistics. And so if they're hearing, they've heard a lot of complaints from residents about speeding down Grassmere. And so they've added Grassmere to be able to have markers to the GPS. So you're wanting additional GPS markers? If you look at the comparison of the other communities, they pick a few hot spots, but it doesn't mean that the RCMP aren't patrolling our entire community.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And Councillor Bisetti, any comments, concerns regarding the police report?
No, I'm just, I think this is a good report to let the residents see, because we've all had the phone calls that, you know, there's the West St. Paul, the crime is going up. It's not just West St. Paul, like as the rest of the council has read a lot of the issues they're having since they're showing East St. Paul, St. Clements and everything. It's all over. So it's not just designated to our area. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bisetti. And I think it's good to have the data for residents to be able to see. And I know that I've had a call from a resident that had a garage break-in, and when it happens, it's extremely upsetting. The good news is it's not happening very often, and our community remains an extremely safe place to live. So it's good to see that they're following up, they're keeping stats, they have a real presence in our community, and we definitely don't want to see crime going up in our community. Councillor Kleiber, go ahead, and then I'll go around and ask if anybody else has questions as well. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just wondering if anybody else has experienced this. There's still some really loud racing going on. I don't know if it's down 8, 9, Blackdale, but it's really loud. And I think we've experienced it almost every night last week. So Councillor Bichetti, you're nodding your head, so you've heard it too. Has anybody been able to pinpoint where that is or what that is?
I'm hearing it in my area more from the perimeter and across the river in East St. Paul. I'm sure, Mayor, you can probably hear it being right on the river, and because you can hear it coming right down the creek from my place. So
yeah, I'm hearing it a lot. So I'm hoping that residents, if they can, to get a license plate number or something that we could pass on, because it's very dangerous, especially for kids. If, you know, the kids are going to be home from school now, and if we have racing on Lockdale or Miller Road or even Grassmere, it could be fatal. And so I'm a little bit concerned about that, if we could be proactive about that.
Councillor Bisetti, go ahead.
heard a lot of it. St. Andrews on the St. Andrews Facebook page, they're saying it's a lot coming out of the airport. And I don't know if they shut down the racetrack at the airport, but there was some comments made this past weekend about all the vehicles around there. So it's down McPhillips racing along there. So that's all I heard, just for an update.
It's certainly not something that's out to our community. I just strongly encourage it, and we want to make sure the police presence out there, absolutely. Councillor Prague, any additional comments?
No, just a comment how this, how they know the hotspots. They have a clerk there, all these hotspots, they is entered into the computer. Like if you have a specific area where there's a lot of break-ins, then that's come up on that sends a red flag. So they will concentrate their resources on that area until that quiets down, then they move. So let me say there's a lot of speeding on Grassmere and a lot of reports go in there. It's entered into the computer. This goes to the police car and said, okay, Grassmere, we have a hot spot there with traffic. So that's how they know and they send the resources to deal with those problems. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Link, go ahead.
Thank you. Some time ago, the previous sergeant, I think, spoke about if residents report license plate numbers, then that could result in warning letters. Is that happening, do you know?
You'd have to ask for an update on that. We haven't been updated on whether or not they're issuing letters or not. We're not getting that kind of specific information, but we can ask if they've been sending out any letters. Yeah. Councillor Kleiber.
Is there anybody getting flickering on their screen?
Only you. Just, I see green lines across
Yeah.
yours. That's it.
Okay, well, hang on. Let's hope we stay on.
We can still hear you and see you clearly, just some green lines on there, but we can see you. All right, we're down to 5.1. We've got information on our AMM 2021 June district meetings. And of course, this is something that also happens annually where we discuss resolutions put forward by councils that help our Association of Manitoba Municipalities lobby the provincial governments. So each of our districts has a meeting to discuss the priorities, get an update from the AMM board, and our meeting will take place, we've got, all of the meetings are June 7th, 10th, 15th to 17th. Sorry, and I don't have our specific meeting date on this one. Ours is in June. And then we've got the additional information here on the different categories and how to create a resolution if our council is wanting to put anything forward.
I got on June 10th, the district meeting.
June 10th is ours. Thank you, Mr. CEO. All right, I will go around the table and see if there's any questions regarding the June district meeting. Councillor Prague, any questions?
No questions. Thank you. No
Councillor Link, any
questions.
question in
Thank
the
you.
June district meeting?
No questions, thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, Mayor, you froze up there. Who did you, or you might be frozen.
Okay, I see all of you. Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you, just your screen's.
District meeting, just go like.
Councillor Pereg, we can only see your ceiling. Oh, okay, there you are.
Able to hear me okay?
We can hear you now, Mayor.
Councillor Bichetti or the
I have no questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Are you able to hear me okay? questions,
You're cutting in and
Councillor
out.
Kleiber?
You're cutting in and out. Okay, are we going to be doing any resolutions for this June district meeting? Do we have anything on the table that we have identified?
Okay, are you able to hear me okay now?
We hear
We
you
don't have
okay.
anything for West St.
We hear you okay when you say,
Paul
can
at
you
this
hear me
time,
now?
if council,
Okay, and then we can't hear you. So you
Okay.
say, or can you hear me? We say yes, and then we can't hear you.
all right, let's see what we can do here. Okay. Are you able to hear me now, okay? Okay.
Yes.
Councillor Kleiber, we have anything that we're bringing forward? Not at this time, but if council has ideas that we would like to submit something, we can certainly do that. All right, seeing no further comment then, we are going to go in camera at this time. Item 8.1, we have a legal issue to discuss in camera. As a committee of the whole meeting, we don't have resolutions to go in camera, we just go in camera. Councillor Link, go ahead.
Do we have one item or multiple items?
One legal item in camera.
Thank you.
Thank you. So if Brian Buchalter can let us know when we're off of live YouTube and in camera, that would be great. thank you for patiently waiting for us to come out of camera. Our in-camera discussion this evening talked about legal matters. And that is our committee of the whole meeting for this evening. Our next council meeting is on Thursday, our regular planning meeting. And I want to thank council and the CAO for joining us this evening, and we will see you Thursday. Thank you.